Hey everyone, it's Reaper here today. I'm kind of just by myself, doing a little spotlight for Kerbal Space Program. It's currently in beta. It's on Steam as an early access game for $23. I personally love the game a lot, but today I'm just going to show you guys really the basics of it and how to get something just up in the air. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and start. I'll have a couple save games already up, but I'm going to start a new one for you guys. Whoops. It's going to have, right now it's just a sandbox game. There is a career option, but it's kind of, well, obviously grayed out because you can't click it because it's not available yet. While it loads. I have a couple mods already installed. Try to ignore them. I probably should have just deleted them before the spotlight, but I'll actually give you the links to the mods. Looking at this screen, you have your launch station, which you can click on, and you have basically your already stock rockets, which some of these came with the mods, sorry about that. This is your tracking station, where if you have an aircraft or some kind of spaceship in orbit around Kerbal, or Kerbin is the name of your planet, which is pretty much just Earth. There's the moon, or Mun as they call it. There's another one that's called Minmus. Your first real challenge is getting something that can fly, and then your second one is a space station. Because as I zoom out, you'll notice that there's a lot of planets. There's Gilly, or I'm sorry, there's Eve. I don't know what Gilly's actually is. Moho, Duna, Dress, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Jewel, and Elo. And each one has their own separate moons and stuff. I've only currently ever been to Eve. And I kind of did it with a mod that I really consider makes the game too easy. If you ever need that, if you're ever curious what mod that is, and because you're just having a horrible time with it, because I did it first, just let me know, and I will put a link down in the description channel. And now it's just going to sit there and load forever. This is something new that came with 0.21, which is the recent Kerbal update. It came out 2-3 days ago as of this video, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. It has the astronaut hiring station, where you can hire people based on courage stupidity. I don't think it really affects the game. It's just kind of there for the fun of it. You have your assigned Kerbals, which is who are going to be in orbit or in what ship, and the lost Kerbals. When one dies, his name goes here. And then your spaceplane hangar. Now, you may think logically that, okay, I'm going to build a spaceplane before I build a spaceship. Don't build a spaceship. These things are a lot harder to do compared to spaceships, because you have to get the balancing right and everything else. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and build just, your basic launch system if my computer loads. It's being a little bit derpier lately. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, over here you have your command pods. You have to have one. Some of these are a little bit of the mods, like these are from mods. I'll give you the link to the mod in the channel. It's a nice mod. It just adds a lot of stock parts and stuff. You need a command pod. We're just going to start out, these are probes, by the way. Probes don't use Kerbals. You see how it says minimum crew to operate 1? It means that it takes one Kerbal for that command pod to be considered a command pod, basically, for the ship to be able to be controlled by the pod. These are your probe pods. They can be put anywhere and you don't need any Kerbals. This came with the mod, by the way. This comes with the stock game. Excuse me. These come probes, but they need electricity, which I'll show you guys how to get electricity here in a minute. Actually, while a regular rocket is on, it generates electricity, but when it's sitting off, you'll need something to generate power, or have batteries. But right now, we're just going to build the basic command pod, which I hope I build one right. It's been a little while since I played this game. You want the command pod, and then over here, you'll have propulsion. I'm sorry, these are all mods too, by the way. I'll just use the in-game parts in case you guys don't want mods, and I'll actually do another video later today probably showing you how to install mods. What you'll probably want to do is take these fuel tanks, like this, take it in a 2 times radius. Well, actually, give me a second. You'll want these in a 2 times radius, but you'll want something else. There's a decoupling feature for this, and I'm sorry, here's more mods. I should have just got rid of these before I did the video. You'll want a stack decoupler for your command pod, so when you want to bring it back into orbit, you can just decouple it and put a parachute in the pod, because you'll want to keep the pilot alive, because if he dies, you don't get him back. Doesn't really matter, but if you're playing Kerbal, a lot of people like to roleplay Kerbal, which it does add a lot of challenge to the game. It makes it pretty fun, but if you're just playing to play, it doesn't necessarily matter if a Kerbal dies. But I mean, you obviously want to try to keep them alive the best you can, so put a parachute in the pod, so if it does not make it or something, you just break the pod off and fire the parachute. Next, we want, under structure, if I can find it, here we go, radial decouplers. And right down here, and I probably should have explained this, symmetry mode, basically it means on an object you see how it's auto putting 2, I can make it put auto put 3, 4, 5, 6. It can go up to 6. And then this makes it angle snap. You see how it's snapping at angle degrees? If you take that off, it won't snap at angle degrees. I prefer to leave it on because I like stuff to be symmetrical. And then you'll just want to attach your fuel pods like this. You want to try and get them the same level as your other one. They're not going to be perfect. Then we're going to put another smaller fuel tank, if I can sort through this mess. Here they are. Oh wait, there's one smaller one. There it is. And with the smaller fuel tanks, you want to try to make it aerodynamic, because the more aerodynamic the ship is, the less air resistance you have, and the less you'll burn fuel. Next, you'll want to add liquid engines, which these come with the game. And then, by the way, you see these RCS blocks? This is how you're going to move your ship in orbit. You can use, it's locking on a dual symmetry, I'm sorry. I can get, there you go. These is what you're going to move your ship in orbit. They make maneuvering and docking very easy, because docking is a crucial part of the game when you get higher up. Because when you get a space station, you get some fuel on the station, your ships aren't going to be able to make it all the way to that outermost planet I showed you earlier. They'll run out of fuel and they'll sit there and drift, and if you have a Kerbal, he's stuck there because this game currently doesn't have any life support in the mechanisms. I'm not sure if it's ever going to matter or not. And on that note also, Squad, who makes the developers of the game, have announced that they don't plan on putting multiplayer in the standalone Kerbal. They said that the way Kerbal's set up, it's impossible. They said when they make an add-on to Kerbal, they will put multiplayer in that. But for now, there will be no multiplayer. You will also need, but like I was saying, these RCS blocks, which is how you make your ship move up, down, left, right, spin, do all that kind of stuff, are needed in orbit. And they can also be used in the atmosphere, but I recommend using them in orbit. This, you have something called SAS, or SASA is what it used to be called. Basically, you press T while you're flying to toggle it, or hold down F just to have it on, or to, well, make it where you completely control it, basically. T toggles it to where it's always on, F, as soon as you let go of F, it goes off. This one will use RCS. These are RCS blocks, what I mentioned just a minute ago. These will not use RCS blocks. As of with 0.21, which is the current Kerbal update, they use power now when they're on. That's not a problem when the engines are running, because like I said earlier, they generate electricity. We're going to use the regular one that doesn't burn RCS fuel for this tutorial. So just pull down the rocket, put that, and then put that. There is, by the way, in that note, there's currently no like sub-assembly manager. You can't edit this while it's sitting over here. So that is a little downfall that I wish that they would kind of fix, because it'd make editing a large craft easier. Next, we'll want something to stabilize it. You don't always have to have this. I don't use them honestly a lot, but they do help a lot in terms of, I don't want that one. I don't want that one. They do help a lot in terms of keeping the aircraft steady without burning up a lot of fuel, like RCS fuel. Which, give me 1 second and I'll show you what fuel RCS uses. It looks a little derpy. You know what, let's do this. That's better. RCS uses monopropellant, which these actually, none of these actually come with the stock game. Hold on. There we go. RCS tanks. This is a very big RCS tank, as you can tell. They make smaller ones, like this one. RCS burns, or I'm sorry, yeah, RCS burns monopropellant, which it'll tell you, monopropellant 100 out of 100. The game is very critical. It's not a huge part of it, but it's very certain as to how much an aircraft weighs versus thrust ratio versus all that. Now, you don't have to know any of that to make an aircraft that flies. You can just do trial and error, which is what we're about to do. There's a mod that I'll put down also in the description channel, MechJeb. MechJeb can do a lot of the stuff for you. I don't use it that much. I only use it if I'm lagging or if I lose complete control in aircraft. I do use the Smart SAS, but I do love MechJeb for this exact reason. Vessel info. Surface TWR, your vessel mass, how much you weigh, 24 tons. Your amount of thrust, how many crew you can have, and the max acceleration, meaning how fast you can accelerate when you're out of the atmosphere. Now, I'm not going to use MechJeb for this one, and so I will show you guys all the buttons for that if you would like. Next, you have your utilities. I was under propulsion for everything really doing propulsion, including monopropellant fuel, and engines. Next, you have your control, which is your SAS tab. If you get MechJeb, this is also where you find the MechJeb case. I hope I'm saying that right. I think it's the real term is mechanical jeb. You'll also see where it says electric charge 5 out of 5 or required resources 18 an hour. I'll show you guys in a minute also that you can fast forward. It can be played in real time or fast forward. RCS blocks, they run anyways. Probes burn electricity like I mentioned earlier. Structure has pretty much anything in structure. I'm sorry for all the mods, but like struts, you want to build a little station, have a strut connector, just do this. Or these kind of struts. Struts are pretty much your space duct tape. If something's wobbly, like in case that wobbles, just do that. I know that looks a little derpy, 1 second. There. Just do that. It keeps things secure. And all of this is in game, by the way, or at least down here. This isn't. These are, if you make a big aircraft and you want to make sure it doesn't break when it launches, you can do this. Yeah, if you notice, it's because it clips through itself. Apparently that doesn't want to go there for reasons of I don't know why. And now it goes there. That makes perfect sense. Then radio decouplers. This is kind of an adapter. If you're a little OCD like me, you don't want a giant part next to a small part. Different version of the stack decoupler. If you notice, it'll say decoupler force, total mass, max temperature, which I don't think matters any right now. I haven't ever had anything break on me because of temperature. I have had it break because of mass tolerance. Aerodynamics are obviously aerodynamics. You can also make, this is where you'll find your air intakes for your jet engines if you get into jet engines, which I may do another tutorial on it, but I'm not very good at it, so you will see lots of explosions in that tutorial. Utilities have batteries. These batteries don't come with the actual game, but these do. Oh, no, they don't. Yeah, they do. These batteries do. Batteries hold electric power, as you would obviously guess. The more batteries you have, the more electric power it can be stored. Solar panels generate power. I like to put some of these panels on because they're cheap, which right now they don't really matter in terms of how much it costs, but they're very useful because they're always on. If you let's say have one of these solar panels, which there's two. This is a 2x3, and I'll actually put one on each side so I can show you. Hopefully I'll remember which one. These are the 2x3. This is the 1x6. They generate power, as you can tell. Electric charge to a second. These generate power with no sun whatsoever. So if you just want to have an aircraft, you know not going to take that much power, like on a probe or something, these are great for probes. Because they can generate power with no sunlight whatsoever. And so your probe won't die. And if your probe dies, like I said earlier, you can't deploy these things. You cannot deploy the solar panels, and you cannot have any control of your aircraft. It just sits there like it's dead. Now, if you have a Kerbal and if you have a command pod like this with a Kerbal inside and it run out of power, you can still control it. But with 0.21, you can't control it that well. And actually, I take that back. I haven't ran out of power and tried to control an aircraft in 0.21 while running out of... I don't think you can actually control it by making it spin and stuff in space. You can still control the throttle. As of recently. I will actually test that, and I'll get back and I'll let you guys know. There's different kinds of solar panels. They all pretty much do the same. I'll actually put one of these on here just to show you. Hopefully it doesn't fall off. Or I can get this thing in orbit. I'm actually... These are just, well, you can find out if you buy this game. This is the biggest solar panel. You want to put these on stations, or if you have a really, really big probe or something. They put out the most electric charge, it's like an 18. These have a greater impact tolerance, which means if they get hit by something, they can survive a little more. These are a little bit more fragile, but I mean they do the same exact electric charge. They actually will track the sun. Just on a slight different note, hitchhiker modules can store up to 4 Kerbals. They won't have any Kerbals in them, but they're great for putting on stations so you can go EVA with your Kerbals, which I'll actually show you if we get into space with this. I'm not sure we will. Lights, rover wheels, extended ladders, landing legs, docking ports. I'll get into all that later. And then science. None of this you'll have except for these things like Communitron, doubles. These do nothing really except make you feel like you're doing something. You can name your aircraft. I was going to name this Mark 1. And we're going to try and launch. And hope it doesn't explode on us. Oh, I forgot to actually, if it loads, whenever it loads. It doesn't normally load. My computer's been a little weird lately. You'll see your Jebediah Kerman is our Kerbal today. If you press C, you can get a little inside view. It's not really anything special yet, but it's an inside view. You'll see right here, by pressing spacebar activates this tier, or action groups, what they're called. Spacebar activates them in 3, 2, 1 order. You'll have more if you have well, more action groups, obviously. But if you just highlight your mouse, it'll show you the engines or whatever's in that activation group. If you don't want it there, just drag it. Left click it, it'll highlight everything, drag it. You can create them or delete them. What this says is when I press spacebar, it'll let go of these and the engines will fire. Holding shift increases throttle, which is right here, and control decreases throttle. T is your SAS, toggling right here. Holding down F, we'll leave it on as long as you hold down F. I prefer just to use T. Now, let's see if this thing will fly. You see my electric charge trying to jump up and down? It's because of the solar panels. Actually, while we're on the ground, this is the 2x3 panel. By the way, do not fly with these on, open like this, while you're in orbit, and I'll show you why as soon as we take off. Or not in, I'm sorry. Do not fly with these while you're trying to get into orbit while you're in the atmosphere. When you're in orbit, you can fly with these as much as you want because there's no air resistance. Now let's see if this flies. See, they snap off. The solar panels, they snap off if you leave them on while you're trying to fly with them in orbit. Now, I hope we make it there. I'm not really sure. I'm actually going to shut down this engine and just use the other 2 engines for now. I hope you guys can all be hearing the noise of the aircraft over me. If the noise is too loud for you, just press escape, settings, and then you can turn down your audio and stuff. Make sure nothing breaks here. It shouldn't break, like I said, because this aircraft isn't really anything overly spectacular. I'm going to throttle down the engines. Trying to stay, I watched a tutorial that says trying to stay at about 100 meters a second, because the lower throttle you have, the less fuel you'll burn. Now you see your meters up here, and if your aircraft just goes horribly long, you can click abort. When we hit 10,000 meters, we're going to be wanting to just go directly to the right at a 90-degree angle. You just do that by pressing D. I mean, D makes you go right when you're in the atmosphere. This is what torque does. For this aircraft, it's kind of tiny. It doesn't need that much torque. Now, if you have a big, giant spacecraft, torque's going to matter, and you're going to burn up a lot of electricity with it. That's why we have solar panels. Because, like I said earlier, while the engines may generate electricity when they're on, if they're off, and you run out of electricity, if you had a probe, or if you're using this, you're kind of screwed. Now, we're going to press spacebar like this. You're going to notice those go off. I hope that doesn't hit me. And then we're going to turn back on our other engine and see if we can get into orbit. I wanted to cooperate here. Just wanted to go down. You don't need these on necessarily. The aircraft will generate, this generates torque by itself, which you can see the toggle torque feature, but so does this. So a little, you can actually have too much torque, so be careful. If an aircraft just is whipping around on a dime, then you'll want to remove the torque. Sorry, I just got a text message and I was reading it. When we get up there, by the way, you'll want to check your orbit map. I'm going to aim for about an orbit of 70,000 feet. The atmosphere ends roughly at about 65 to 70. Actually, let's go to 75. You'll see this Kerbal, I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm not even going to try. When that hits 70,000 feet, we're going to kill the engines. And I hope we have enough fuel. Oh yeah, we'll have plenty of fuel. See that as it's going 62,000 feet, 67. When we hit 75, we're going to shut it off. A little more, but that doesn't hurt anyone. Now, I'm not going to get into maneuver node too much because I'm probably already over what I wanted to do this time because I know you guys don't want to sit here and watch for half an hour. But all you want to do, maneuver nodes, you don't even have to do these, but they're very easy. You want to click on this part, the highest point. Click add maneuver. You want to drag this one all the way over. This is all you want to do, mess with right now to get this thing into orbit. This will increase the circle. This will decrease the circle. Go back to staging, or just left click right here, the little icon. Now you see what popped up, these blue things? This is the current velocity. This is which way your aircraft is traveling. This is which direction you want to be facing to hit the node. Now if you watch, because we have plenty of time, and I'll fast forward in a second, but you'll notice that we don't burn any electricity because we have see, now we're burning electricity. And torque controls your aircraft doing that. Now when you run out of power, if you have a Kerbal, you just won't be able to do that until you turn on the engine. If you have no solar panels, with no power, the aircraft will be dead and it plummet back into the atmosphere and blow up. See, this is where we came. We'll hit right here, then we'll start going back down. Now we won't actually hit here because the atmosphere will slow us down. We'll probably hitting in the ocean somewhere. But if you click up here, you can fast forward. I'm not going to fast forward now because we're going to need I'm going to go ahead and start the burn to get in orbit right now. At 25 seconds. Yeah, oh wow, I almost timed that perfectly. That's the first time I've ever done that. We will try and get this thing in orbit, and then we'll try and deorbit. I have enough fuel. I hope he doesn't get stuck up here forever. Though it wouldn't really matter, I just want to get him back or I have to launch a rescue operation, which those are fun. And now you'll see that we are in, well, that's a really derpy orbit, but we're in orbit, kind of. I hope it doesn't crash. 126,000 feet, 68,000 feet. And then I'm just going to go ahead and show you, this is Kerbal. All her wonder. You'll notice this down here. This is my ATI catalyst. I'm sorry about that. Shows my frames per second and the temperature. There's the moon. I'm not going to get to the moon today, obviously. But up here's your fast forward button. 4 times the warp. You'll see that we're going around the planet. You can get really high up. I think it's up to 1,000 times warp, which is why Kerbal can't support multiplayer in its current form. Now see, when we're behind the sun, I generate no power whatsoever, but we're not doing anything, so it's okay unless you have a probe, then you constantly need power. And then, when we get around to the sun, we generate power again. I'm going to go ahead and deorbit now, since, oh here, I'll let it go one more pass so you can see Kerbal. Or not, because the game realizes that we're in the atmosphere. Oh. Okay, so try and make sure your orbit's above 75,000 feet. Since we're in the atmosphere, I'm going to go ahead and deburn. You see, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even go ahead and tell you that. You see this right here? It looks almost exactly like the way your velocity is going, except there's an X in it. That's the direction you need to go to cancel your velocity, basically to slow down. So you'll want to try and align that, and then you'll want to, well, or turn on your engines. And we're going to crash. But that's what we want, right? I hope we don't crash into the ocean. Let me see if I can fix that. Last time I did this, I crashed in the ocean, and I hate crashing in the ocean. And we are out of fuel, guys. Alright, we're going to leave the aircraft the way it is for just a second. The bottom part's going to die. You'll notice that in a minute. We can fast forward up to 4 times when we're in the atmosphere using this. I do not turn this on while you're flying, because the aircraft in the game, sometimes things will break in 4 times the speed that will not normally break. We're going to go ahead and burn. You'll watch us catch on fire here shortly. And a nice fury explosion. Look at that fire. Currently, I don't think it actually matters if you can't burn up in the atmosphere. There's mods that make it where you can, but you cannot currently just burn up in the atmosphere re-entering, no matter what's on. As you can tell, my aircraft is not wanting to do. Oh, well, hello. There we go. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and decouple and launch the parachute. And hope the parachute doesn't rip off. You'll see that plummeting. Probably see a nice little explosion there. Maybe. I didn't realize we were this high up, 5,000 feet. 1,000, oh yeah, you know, it would help if it's 1,000 meters from me and we're only at 4,000 feet, it's not going to hit the ground for a minute. You'll see us slowing down gradually. A good speed is anything under 5 meters a second. With this, I don't have much control over it because we have no engine. I'm just up to the hoping the parachute can stop us and not rip off. If you have too small of a parachute and too heavy of a load and you hit the ground, or you hit, oh, there goes the explosion, everyone. Nice little explosion there. Now, if you have too small of a parachute, too big of a load, the parachute will rip off and you'll die. Hopefully we won't. Yep, it caught. It's being really weird. I don't know why. It normally doesn't do that. Let me see. Oh, because the game thinks we're on 4 times speed. I don't know why. But I'm going to go ahead and try and fast forward and hope nothing snaps off. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to go inside. Oh, that looks beautiful. And we have touchdown. Hopefully I don't break. And no braking. Yay, we made it, guys. Alright. Also, there's an EVA feature. Doing it on a Kerbal won't do you any good, but we'll go ahead and do it. Let go. You can walk around as your Kerbal. You can also go jet. You can also use your pack by pressing R. Pretty much same control. Shift makes you go up. Control makes you go down. And that. You can't really do much on Kerbal. Grab, and then we'll go back inside. Then you'll want to press this. If your aircraft for some reason dies, you have a problem, click revert flight. I'm not going to click it now because I want to, well, I guess I can. Revert to launch. It'll revert you back to when your aircraft first launched. Or if it breaks horribly and you need to change something, go to revert to a vehicle assembly. What we're going to do is we're going to click Space Center. Oh, by the way, if you, yeah, read that. If you have your throttle up like I do, even if you have no throttle whatsoever on it, you have to turn the throttle off to leave. So we're going to throttle down to 0. We're going to press Escape again, go to Space Center. You notice it's taking us to the Space Center. This will not be here, by the way, if you have the regular game. It's a mod I have. We're going to go back to the tracking station. You notice how it says we will have 1 flight in progress. Mark 1. He's landed on Kerbal. What we're going to do is, you can't really see it because fraps, we're going to click Recover. And now, Jebediah Kerman is safe and back and safe with us. That feature was introduced in 0.21 and I really love it because it actually makes it feel like you're saving the Kerbal rather than aborting him. And now he's alive. And he's ready for the next mission. Thank you guys. Like I said, if you like what you see here, please go buy the game. Don't pirate it. Buy the game. This guy's, it's still in beta. That can use all the money they can to develop this amazing game. Also, you can move around with WASD when you're here. No real point, but you can. You can also get on top of all of these buildings with the VTOL aircraft, which I might do in another episode. Sorry if this was longer than normal. I just wanted to show you guys the game. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please post a comment. We haven't gotten any yet, and I'd love to have some guys who actually watch us. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. I'll be posting more about Kerbal, and I'll be posting more tutorials of games if you guys would like. This has been Reaper here. Have a great afternoon.